Hi everybody, it's Elizabeth with World's Cup of Joe, Awaken Your Soul. Welcome back to our Soul Through Literature series of Soul Gone Wild, where we discuss soul found in Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Today we will conclude chapter 4. As a brief recap of the story, Dorian is telling Lord Henry that he has met a woman named Sybil Vane, whom he has fallen in love with. He explains that she's an actress and he has gone and watched her nightly taking on different roles and has fallen deeper and deeper in love on each occasion of watching her perform. Lord Henry warns him about falling in love as well as marriage and tells him his views on the subject. Dorian ignores his warnings and asks if he and Basil would attend one of her upcoming performances with him for them to see for themselves how wonderful she is. That is where we left off, and now we will resume Soul Gone Wild. Quote 1. Basil, my dear boy, puts everything that is charming in him into his work. The consequence is that he has nothing left for life but his prejudices, his principles, and his common sense. Lord Henry. I included this first quote because it touches on an issue that so many people face, whether they are awakened or asleep. Most that are awakened are teetering in between their life and the 3D with work, family, relationships, while their soul is leading them to understand that life is meant to be lived in the 5D. I recently said goodbye to a huge component of my asleep self by resigning from my 9-to-5 job and going full-time with Cup of Joe, because I knew that that was where my soul had been directing me for the last year. But while I was still in my 9-to-5, I, like Lord Henry said, put everything charming of myself into my job. I was so fearful of not doing good enough or losing my job that I always made sure to be one of the top performers on my team. I put in all my energy into the people I was helping, so much so that I was exhausted after my shift was over. I was tired and it left me little energy to devote to what I truly loved, which was my creation with Cup of Joe and my family. I didn't have time to live the life I wanted to live because I was so busy giving my love and energy to stay in a job that I was miserable in. Can any of you relate to this? Lord Henry comments that all Basil had left of himself after what he put into his work was his prejudices, his principles, and his common sense. There is no joy, no happiness, no peace in any of those things. Where is the soul? So I will put this topic back to you to consider for yourself. This is for those of you that are still putting all of your energy into a job that you may have manifested while you were asleep, a career and a lifestyle that may no longer resonate with you. What kind of life do you want to live? One where you get to co-create with the universe and do something you're passionate about each day? Or one that feels like you're in shackles and have lost all sense of purpose? Now, I'm sure that there are many people that have a life where you are not at either end of these extremes. But soul wants you to have the freedom to pursue things that bring you joy. That was the reason we came here, to create our realities and have fun while doing it. I love this quote from Dr. Seuss. Yes, Dr. Seuss. And I'm going to apply it to this topic because it resonates on such a deep level to this discussion. He says, "You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams." Since I left my 9-to-5, my days have all been better than the one prior. Life just keeps getting more fulfilling each day, and I sometimes fear that the bubble will burst. I didn't know life could feel so purposeful, so intoxicating, so free and full of bliss, but it does now. I enjoy being awake now more than I do being asleep. Not so long ago, I would have said the opposite. The passion to create and work on new things for Cup of Joe is so inspiring that I often feel like I eat, breathe, and sleep Cup of Joe, because I can see life from both perspectives now, one in which I was ruled by the fear that mindset I needed to stick to my 9-to-5, versus now living out and pursuing my dream. I can honestly say I could never go back to the old way of living. I can never give up my freedom that I have now attained, simply to accommodate the fears that my mind had held. Quote 2. Ordinary people waited till life disclosed to them its secrets, but to the few, to the elect, the mysteries of life were revealed before the veil was drawn away. Wow. As an awakened soul, don't you feel like you're part of an elite underground society where the curtains have been pulled back on the world as we knew it and out emerges the one that we exist in now? It's like seeing this beautiful, perfect place where all we could see before were flaws. Once we know that we are soul, we see the world through the eyes of soul, which is just love and joy and peace. The first part of this quote says, ordinary people waited till life disclosed to them its secrets. If you've ever listened to Abraham Hicks speak, who I love and resonate with on the deepest level of my core, you will hear her talk about death and how it is not death as we have always perceived it to be, but it's actually a return to the non-resistance. Death becomes a place where we return to soul and know all of life's secrets. This is that part of the quote. Most people don't have the ability to see life for what it is, the place where we expand ourselves as beings and create our own reality by intentionally focusing on what we want and getting ourselves to a place of non-resistance, or soul. Once we are in this place, we can manifest for ourselves through soul everything that we desire. The next part of the quote, but to the few, to the elect, the mysteries of life were revealed before the veil was drawn away. This is powerful. Since my awakening, I have seen a new version of reality, and more keeps getting exposed the more I align with soul. I have transformed my life in the last 3 years to a reality I never, ever believed was possible. I'm with the other half of my soul, living a life where I lay my head down each night in a place of blissful peace. I wake up to go to work on my soul purpose that fills me with so much joy at times I feel I may burst from contentment. I live in a home that I consider a dream house, with land outside that makes me happy just looking out any window of my home. I can truly say I am one of the elect that understands how this universe operates and how we can determine our own realities through our vibration and our thoughts. I am appreciative of this gift and feel blessed every day to be awakened. Next quote. Soul and body, body and soul, how mysterious they were. There was animalism in the soul, and the body had its moments of spirituality. The senses could refine, and the intellect could degrade. Lord Henry. We were raised to think that we are our bodies and our minds, cumulatively. The shifts I could feel take place within my own spiritual journey was when I could recognize that I was not my mind, nor my body. I was soul. Soul is merely the observer of the thoughts in your head. That is who soul is. Soul just is. This is a hard concept for most people to wrap their minds around. They've been so conditioned to believe that they are their actions, their thoughts, their outer appearance. I believe it was Michael Singer that said in his book, The Surrender Experiment, that you know you aren't your body because if you lose a limb, you still exist. Therefore, you can't be your body. You also can't be your thoughts because you don't control what may or may not pop into your head. Therefore, what are you? You are merely the observer of those thoughts. When you can recognize that you are soul and you are not your thoughts, your beliefs, or anything else you previously identified yourself as, you start taking steps to align with soul by recognizing or spotting the mind, releasing any judgment, and watching what is going on in your life as a third-party observer. In this quote, Lord Henry says there was animalism in the soul and the body had its moments of spirituality. He's referencing the soul at times being primitive. Is soul primitive? I believe Lord Henry was using this almost as an insult against soul, but animals are some of the purest examples of soul. Soul is the vibration of peace, love, and joy. At this very moment, I'm looking at my cats and my dogs. They are all peace, love, and joy. I chose this quote, however, for this last line. The senses could refine and the intellect could degrade. I absolutely agree with this line. The quickest way to align with soul is through presence. The quickest way to get out of mind and focus on presence is through the senses. If it is in front of you and you can see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, or smell it, and you focus on it, then you are being present. Soul is presence. So when Henry says that the senses could refine, he is saying that your senses can get you to soul. This is accurate and something that anyone that wants to grow in their spirituality and get farther in their ascension should practice as often as possible. Now, the next part he says, the intellect could degrade. This is saying that the mind will degrade, and it will. Being in mind will immediately put you in the lower vibrations on the scale of consciousness. But to get yourself out of those lower levels, just focus on your senses and bring presence into your now moment. And that is where you find soul. Next quote. The separation of spirit from matter was a mystery, and the union of spirit with matter was a mystery also. Lord Henry. What is said in this quote is one of life's great mysteries, and unfortunately is one of the things that trips most of mankind up. This is a follow-up of the last quote where we discussed not being our minds or our bodies. Lord Henry is saying that the separation of soul from the body is a mystery, much as the joining of souls into our bodies is, and I agree. This topic is the basis for questions of our existence. Questions such as, how long have our souls existed? Who created our souls? Where do our souls go once our physical vessels have ceased to operate? Did our souls exist before we came into these bodies? How did our souls get into our specific bodies? We all have our own ideas and our own resonance with the answers to these questions. As your spiritual ascension grows, so will your resonance to these answers. I found my resonance when I started hearing very similar messages from a variety of places that were all based in the same foundation. Yet the people who discussed them were from all different places and times. Most existed in a time way before access to information, or else limited access to it, yet they all told very similar views. For me, the similarities were so great and the resonance so strong that I felt compelled to alter my belief patterns from what they were before. Some of the people that had profound influence on me were listening to the messages from Michael Singer, Conversations with God, Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, Abraham Hicks, Rumi, and of course the messages from the great religious leaders that have influenced the world with their messages. They all have such similar messages. However, they have been changed to fit the narrative of the historical period and leaders that they grew in. I believe that the enlightened spiritual leaders of our time, Buddha and Jesus, for example, were fully enlightened and knew their capabilities. I believe that is what sets them apart from the average person. Many of us awakened souls know how to align with soul, but we still get mind tripping us up all the time, and we have limiting beliefs ingrained in us that hold us back from our pure source energy. With these spiritual leaders, I believe they knew their powers and got to the point where source energy was the only thing leading their way. Mind was able to be shut off, and they were purely led by soul. Because anything can be done with the power of soul. It is believing that it's possible. That is the part that many fail to grasp. Jesus saw someone that needed to be healed and saw them as soul, which was healed and perfect already. That is what brought on the change. We all have access to these gifts because they are a universal gift from source. It is being able to tap into these powers and hold on to the belief that we are one with source at all times. That is where most of us fail to get to the place of enlightenment. Next quote. But there was no motive power in experience. It was as little of an active cause as conscience itself. All that it really demonstrated was that our future would be the same as our past, and that the sin we had done once and with loathing, we would do many times and with joy. Lord Henry. This quote describes the role that limiting belief patterns play in creating our reality. As a society, we have heard throughout our life that experience is the best teacher in life. But that's not what Lord Henry asserts in this passage. Rather, he believes that experience merely recreates itself over again in our lives. And things we look back on that we have done, we will do them again regardless of how they made us feel while doing them. I want you to really think about this quote because it's true on so many levels in our lives. This plays out daily and we aren't even aware of it. Being on my spiritual journey, I realized that law of attraction will alter what is delivered to me based on my beliefs, and my soul will stop bringing the same triggers once they no longer spike my energy and I have worked through them. When Lord Henry says that our future will be done the same as our past, he's correct. If we can't change our limiting beliefs, law of attraction will always deliver to us what we believe to be true. Another example, relationships. If we continuously believe that we are unworthy, the universe will bring us people to show us that we should be treated as such. This is why when you align with soul, learn how to raise your vibration, you will naturally shift the way you see yourself. When you align with soul, the vibration of love, you embody that vibration. You become love. Law of attraction will then deliver people into your experience that reflect back to you the love that you are. Then the beliefs you hold will start to change and adapt to your new experiences based on soul alignment. You can't see the results until you change your belief patterns. And soul alignment is a quick way to do this because soul will always bring you things in those higher vibrations. Okay, guys, we have gotten deep in this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. I wish you an amazing, soul-filled week and look forward to our next chapter in Oscar Wilde's A Picture of Dorian Gray. Thank you for joining us in our Soul Through Literature series.